Welcome to the Migraine Miracle Moment. I'm your host, Dr. Josh Turknet. I'm a neurologist, migraine specialist, migraine sufferer, and author of the book, The Migraine Miracle. In this podcast, you'll learn all about how to find your path to migraine freedom without pills. Let's get started. Howdy, Bee Slayers. Welcome again to the Migraine Miracle Moment. Today we have a short mini-cast for you. I'm sharing with you an excerpt from a recent clinic chat question and answer session with our Migraine Neverland members. Once again, during these live chats, we get together over Zoom and either have a general question and answer session or I present on a topic that is relevant to those who are implementing the Migraine Miracle program to slay the beast for good. And the replay videos of all of these sessions are available in the virtual classroom in Migraine Neverland. Today's excerpt is about the experience of euphoria after a migraine. As you may know, migraines are typically divided into 4 phases, and the last of these is the post-drome, which is after the pain phase has dissipated. Fatigue is the most common symptom there. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. But some experience a sensation of euphoria, and there are some very intriguing ideas about what might be going on in the brain during these episodes. And so that is the topic of this excerpt. Also, I wanted to announce that we will be reopening Migraine Neverland membership this Monday, October 4th, in preparation for our next Jumpstart Challenge, which launches the following Saturday. And this will be our last jumpstart of the year. So if you're on the waiting list, you will be notified when it opens. And to find out more about Migraine Neverland and the challenge and to put your name on the list, you can head to mymigrainemiracle.com. Kind of a fun question here. I almost always experience a major euphoria after my migraine is completely done. The day after my recovery day is usually a very high energy and great feeling day. Any thoughts on this phenomenon? Either of you experienced that ever? The euphoria after a migraine?
Always.
No. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's not everybody. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you're getting ripped off. The explanation that I think is pretty plausible centers around dopamine. So dopamine is kind of the neurotransmitter most associated with the feeling of euphoria. That's what cocaine does. And there's all sorts of evidence of that there's screwy dopamine signaling in a migraine. So a lot of your weird symptoms coming from dopamine signaling. So and typically heightened dopamine. So starting in the prodrome. So the earliest signs, typically being fatigue and yawning, are both associated are both linked to a rise in dopamine levels. And interestingly, there's evidence that sort of in between attacks, migraineurs may have sort of dopamine hypofunction, meaning not enough for whatever reason, so that the receptors we have become upregulated, so we become more sensitive to any amounts. So you can give a dopamine drug to a migraineur and start eliciting these symptoms earlier than that you would for someone who's not a migraineur. So just an interesting sign that there's some combination of hypersensitivity and then combined with an increase or a rise in dopamine release at the beginning of a migraine. So you get your yawning, fatigue, and your food cravings that are all likely dopamine related. And then as the levels rise further, that then leads to the nausea and vomiting. And the drugs that block those symptoms are all anti-dopamine drugs. So your Phenergan or your Compazine or Reglan or Zofran, those are all acting against dopamine. And so it's the theory is that you have this rise in dopamine levels that's happening during a migraine, causing this escalation of these symptoms. And if sort of the pain phase and dissipates, but the dopamine rise continues, then you have euphoria in the poststrome. So you've got these high dopamine levels still left over, the pain is gone, and you get euphoric. Whereas if in someone where the dopamine levels then decline before by the time the migraines ended, they have fatigue and this sort of overwhelming feeling of being wiped out. So I've personally experienced both. I've both had the feeling of extremely wiped out, but I've also had the feeling of euphoria. And obviously the challenge is people. It could also be secondary to not having your head hurt anymore. So that too tends to produce euphoria. But there does seem to be something intrinsic to the migraine process as well that's likely producing it. Also, interestingly, and I didn't realize this until I was researching it, but in Parkinson, people with migraines who develop Parkinson's, their migraines tend to diminish, and Parkinson's, the primary problem is the loss of neurons that make dopamine in a particular part of the brain. So another kind of interesting connection. All right, so once again, that was an excerpt from our last clinic chat. Some of the other questions that were covered in that chat were, what are your thoughts on supplementing with taurine? What I'm wondering about bioidentical hormone therapy, specifically progesterone cream and capsules for menstrual migraines. We've gotten a lot of questions over the years about hormone supplementation. There are lots of prior episodes or prior issues of the chatter available in our member archive about that topic as well. Another question, I'm wondering if there's any benefit to pulse electromagnetic field therapy for migraine prevention. Would a regular fast once a week for about 24 hours be good for general health optimization? And why do I have a heightened sense of smell accompanying my migraines? So again, for the members listening, the replay session is now up in the Migraine Neverland virtual classroom. All right, that is it for this episode. Thanks so much for listening, and now it's time to go out and slay the beast.